throw away for obvious reasons. I don't even know where to start. My head is still spinning. I'm posting here because I feel like I'm going crazy, and I just need to get this all out before I explode. My wife, let's call her Ashley, and I have been married for 5 years, together for 8. I'm a tattoo artist, own my own shop, and she works in marketing. For a long time, I thought we were the it couple. Sure, we had ups and downs, but we always laughed our way through them. I adored her. I thought she adored me. About 6 months ago, the vibe in our house completely shifted. It wasn't a gradual drift. It felt like someone flipped a switch and replaced my fun-loving wife with someone who genuinely despised my existence. Ashley became incredibly bitchy, snapping at me for the smallest things. If I breathed too loud while watching TV, I got an eye roll and a heavy sigh. If I left a coffee cup in the sink for 10 minutes, it was World War III. I tried to talk to her about it constantly. "Babe, what's wrong? Are you stressed at work?" The usual stuff. She'd just shut me down, tell me I was being sensitive, or gaslight me into thinking I was the one starting the arguments. She was an Olympic-level liar during this period, twisting reality until I felt like I was losing my grip. The biggest red flag, obviously, was the sex. It went from a healthy, fun part of our marriage to absolute zero. And I mean zero. Every time I tried to initiate, she had a headache, or she was too bloated, or she just straight up pushed me away with a look of disgust. It hurts, man. Being rejected by the person you love every single night destroys your confidence. I felt gross, unwanted, and totally confused about what I had done to make her hate me so much. Little did I know, it had nothing to do with me at all.
Things went from bad to weird real quick. You know that gut feeling you get when something is just off? My stomach was in knots 24/7. The first major shift was her phone. Ashley used to leave her phone lying around everywhere, on the coffee table, the kitchen counter, buried in the couch cushions. I knew her passcode, she knew mine. We had nothing to hide. Then, suddenly, that phone became glued to her hand. If she went to the bathroom, the phone went with her. If she took a shower, it was on the counter next to the sink. One night, we were sitting on the couch, at opposite ends, naturally, and her phone lit up on the cushion between us. I glanced over, just instinct, and she practically dove for it, like full-on panic mode. "Who's texting you at 10 p.m.?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She glared at me, clutching the phone to her chest. "It's just work, okay? God, why are you so obsessed with what I'm doing? It's pathetic." "I'm not obsessed, Ash. You just jumped like a grenade landed on the couch." "You're suffocating me," she screamed, storming off to the bedroom and slamming the door. That was her new favorite word, suffocating. Apparently, asking your wife why she's acting shady is abuse now.
Then the late nights started. She claimed her marketing firm picked up a huge new client and she had to stay late for strategy meetings. Who has strategy meetings until 1 a.m. on a Tuesday? I tried to be the supportive husband. I'd text her, "Don't work too hard, love you." No reply. Or I'd get a dry, busy text 3 hours later. When she did come home, she wouldn't even look at me. She'd go straight to the shower. That was the kicker. She'd come home smelling sterile. Not like office coffee and stale air, but like soap, like she'd just scrubbed herself clean. I confronted her about it a week later. "Ash, you smell like Dove soap. Did you shower at the office?" She laughed in my face, a cold, mocking sound. "Are you insane? I went to the gym after work to blow off steam because coming home to your accusations is exhausting. You're crazy, you know that? You need therapy." She looked me dead in the eye and lied without blinking. She made me feel like the villain for noticing she was washing off the scent of sex with another man before crawling into bed next to me. I actually started to believe her. Maybe I was crazy. Maybe the lack of intimacy was making me paranoid. But then the universe threw me a bone, or rather, a receipt.
So, the receipt. I was borrowing her car to run an errand because my truck was in the shop. I reached into the center console looking for some gum and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. It was a receipt from the Gilded Fork, this super upscale seafood place downtown. Date, last Tuesday. Time, 8:45 p.m. 2 entrees, lobster tail and a filet mignon. A bottle of expensive Pinot Noir. Total, $350. Last Tuesday was one of her late strategy meetings. She told me they ordered pizza at the office. Unless her boss treats the team to lobster and romantic candlelight dinners for 2,
She was full of shit. My heart started hammering against my ribs. I felt like I was going to throw up right there in the driver's seat. I didn't confront her immediately. I needed more. I needed concrete proof, because I knew Ashley. If I showed her the receipt, she'd say she took a client out. She'd spin it. She'd call me crazy again. I got home, and she was in the shower, her ritualistic cleansing after doing God knows what. I remembered that we shared an iCloud account for the house iPad, mostly for streaming movies, but sometimes messages synced if she forgot to toggle the setting off after an update. I grabbed the iPad from the nightstand. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped it.
I opened iMessage, and there it was. A thread with Brad, Jim. It wasn't just a smoking gun, it was a nuclear bomb. Brad, my legs are still shaking. You were incredible today. Ashley, I needed that so bad. It's the only thing keeping me sane. Brad, does he suspect anything? No, he's clueless. He keeps trying to touch me. It makes my skin crawl. I just tell him I'm tired. He's so pathetic, honestly. It's like living with a kicked puppy. I just want him to leave me alone so I can think about your cock. I sat there reading message after message, graphic details about the sex they were having, things she hadn't done with me in years. She was telling him how much better he was, how boring I was, making fun of my job. He just draws on people. It's not a real career. She called me a loser. She mocked the way I dressed. She was dismantling our entire life together for an ego boost from some gym bro named Brad, all while letting me pay the mortgage and cook her dinner. The sadness vanished instantly, replaced by a cold, hard rage I didn't know I was capable of feeling. Then I heard the shower turn off.
I managed to lock the iPad and slide it back onto the nightstand about 3 seconds before Ashley breezed out of the bathroom. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, heart pounding so hard I thought it would crack a rib. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't see the woman I married. I saw a stranger, a cruel, selfish stranger wrapped in a white towel. "Why are you looking at me like that?" she snapped, drying her hair aggressively. "You look like a creep." I forced a shrug, burying the urge to scream in her face. "Just thinking. Long day." She rolled her eyes. "Yeah, well, quit staring. It's annoying." She dropped the towel and started getting dressed, completely indifferent to my presence. It was humiliating how little she cared. Then her mood shifted. It was subtle, but I knew her tells. She wanted something. She softened her posture, put on a fake little pout, and turned to me. "So," she started, her voice dropping an octave to that manipulative, sweet tone she used when she wanted me to buy her something. I almost laughed. The balls on this woman. "What did you have in mind, Ash?" "I want a tattoo," she said, checking her reflection in the mirror. "I've been feeling really spiritual lately, like I'm entering a new phase of my life. I want something meaningful." "Meaningful," I repeated, deadpan. "Okay, what do you want?" She pulled up a picture on her phone and shoved it in my face. It was a string of Chinese characters. "I want this, right down my spine. Sexy, right?" I looked at the image. "Do you know what it means?" "Duh," she scoffed. "It means eternal love and devotion. I think it would be really beautiful. Kind of a symbol of, commitment." I felt my blood turn to ice. Commitment. She was banging Brad from the gym, calling me a pathetic loser to him, and now she wanted me to brand her with a symbol of devotion? And then it clicked. I flashed back to the texts I just read. She had told Brad she wanted to do something crazy for him. She wanted to surprise him. She was getting this tattoo for him. She was using me, her cuckolded husband, to put her lover's tribute permanently on her skin. She probably got off on the thrill of it. I stared at her, silence stretching out between us. She tapped her foot impatiently. "Well, can you do it or not? Or are you going to be lazy about this too?" A dark, twisted idea formed in the back of my mind. It was cold. It was professional. It was perfect. "Sure, Ash," I said, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "I can do that. In fact, I have an opening tomorrow evening. Let's do it." She smirked, victorious. "Great. Don't fuck it up." Oh, I wasn't going to fuck it up. I was going to make it a masterpiece. I went to the shop early the next morning.
I didn't sleep a wink. I spent the entire night staring at the ceiling, oscillating between wanting to vomit and wanting to burn the house down. But I had a job to do. I sat at my desk and pulled up my translation references. I have a buddy, Kenji, who specializes in Japanese and Chinese lettering. I didn't tell him why, just asked him for the exact characters for a specific phrase. I needed to be 100% sure. I wasn't going to accidentally tattoo spicy chicken soup on her back. I wanted accuracy. The phrase I chose? Cheap whore. It looked elegant. To the untrained eye, like Ashley's, it was just beautiful, flowing calligraphy. Artsy, spiritual. In reality, it was a label. A warning label. She rolled into the shop around 5 p.m., looking annoyed that she even had to be there, despite her begging me for this. She didn't even say hi to my receptionist. She just marched back to my station, dropped her bag, and started texting. Probably Brad. "Let's get this over with," she said, not looking up from her screen. "I have dinner plans with the girls tonight." Liar. The girls was definitely code for Brad's penis. "Sure thing, babe," I said. I was operating on autopilot. Cold, detached efficiency. I showed her the printout of the design she asked for. "This is the size and flow you wanted, right?" "Yeah, whatever, it looks fine. Just make it look expensive." I had her lay down on the table, face down. I prepped her skin, shaving the fine hairs along her spine, cleaning it with alcohol. I could feel her muscles tense up. She hated my touch now. The feeling was mutual. I went to the stencil machine. I had the love/devotion stencil in one hand and the cheap whore stencil in the other. I swapped them with a sleight of hand I didn't know I possessed. I applied the cheap whore stencil down her spine. The purple ink transferred to her skin. "Check the placement," I said, holding up a hand mirror so she could see the reflection in the wall mirror. She craned her neck, glanced at the purple lines running down her back. She didn't even study the characters. She just looked to see if it was centered. "It's straight," she said, settling back down. "Just don't talk to me while you do it. I want to listen to a podcast." "Not a word," I promised. I fired up the machine. The buzz filled the room. I dipped the needle into the black ink and broke skin. For 3 hours, I tattooed cheap whore down my wife's spine. Every time she winced or hissed in pain, I felt a sick sense of satisfaction. It was therapeutic. I was literally carving the truth into her. She was listening to some self-help podcast about empowerment while I was permanently marking her for her betrayal.
"You're wiping too hard," she complained halfway through. "Sorry," I said. "Not sorry at all. Just making sure the ink packs in solid. You want it to last forever, right?" "Ugh, just hurry up." When I finished, I cleaned it off. It was bold, black, and perfectly healed. It would be legible from across the room. "All done," I said, snapping off my gloves. "It looks exactly like you deserve." "Finally," she groaned, sitting up. She tried to twist to look at it. "Don't," I stopped her. "It's super fresh and bleeding. I need to wrap it immediately or it'll get infected. Keep the Sanoderm wrap on for 24 hours. No peeking, no touching. Let the plasma do its work." I slapped a large, opaque bandage over the entire piece. She couldn't see a thing. "Whatever," she said, grabbing her shirt. "I'm late. Don't wait up." She walked out of the shop with a permanent insult on her back, heading straight to the man she was cheating on me with, thinking she was the smartest person in the room. I locked the door behind her and finally allowed myself to laugh. It was a dark, manic laugh that echoed in the empty shop. The bomb was planted. Now I just had to wait for the explosion. Ashley came home at 2:30 a.m. I was lying in bed, wide awake, staring into the dark. I heard her stumble in, tipsy and giggling on the phone, probably leaving a voicemail for Brad. She didn't even bother showering this time. She just stripped off her clothes and crawled into bed, reeking of cheap cologne and sweat. It took every ounce of willpower I had not to push her out of the bed. The next 48 hours were a blur of calculated chaos on my end. While she was at work, or working on Brad, I was executing Operation Scorched Earth. I took the day off. First stop, the bank. I moved half of our joint savings into a new account she couldn't touch. Then I maxed out the cash withdrawal limit. Second stop, a divorce lawyer, a real shark. I showed him the screenshots from the iPad, the receipt, the whole 9 yards. He looked at the evidence, looked at me, and said, "We're gonna crush her." I felt a glimmer of hope. When I got home, Ashley was in front of the hallway mirror, peeling off the Sanoderm bandage. My heart rate spiked. This was it.
Ouch, she hissed as the adhesive pulled at her skin. She finally got it off and twisted her body to see the reflection. I held my breath. Oh my God, she breathed out. It's actually perfect. She didn't know. She had no clue. She was staring at cheap whore branded on her skin in bold black ink, and she was admiring the line work. The narcissism was actually blinding her. The lines are so crisp, she said, running a finger near the fresh tattoo. You actually did a good job. I'm surprised. I told you, I said, leaning against the doorframe, sipping a beer to hide the trembling in my hands. I wanted it to be accurate to who you are. Aw, that's almost sweet, she said, completely missing the venom in my voice. I'm going to wear that backless red dress to the company gala on Saturday. Everyone needs to see this. The gala, of course, her company's big annual party. Brad would probably be there, lurking in the background since he was her personal trainer or whatever cover story they were using. You definitely should, I encouraged her. It's a statement piece.
She pulled out her phone. I'm going to post it on Instagram. The lighting is good right now. I watched as she snapped a photo, filtered it, and posted it with the caption, New ink, eternal love and devotion, finally doing something for me. Thanks to the hubby for the work. Hashtag new beginnings, hashtag spiritual, hashtag ink. I almost choked on my drink. She just broadcasted cheap whore to her 5,000 followers. I checked my phone about 10 minutes later. The likes were rolling in. So pretty, love the meaning, yes, queen. But then I saw a notification pop up, a DM from my buddy Kenji, the one I'd asked for the translation. Kenji, bro, why did Ashley just post a pic of her back saying cheap whore? Did you get hacked? Or, oh shit, did you do that? The bomb had detonated. It was only a matter of time before the shockwave hit her. I messaged Kenji back immediately. Do not say a word. I know exactly what I did. Just grab some popcorn and watch. Kenji sent back a skull emoji. He knew I'd gone nuclear. Saturday arrived. The tension in the house was thick enough to choke on. Ashley was in full diva mode, screaming at me because I hadn't ironed my shirt fast enough, even though I was ready an hour before her. She spent 3 hours on her hair and makeup. When she finally stepped out of the bedroom, I have to admit, she looked incredible. She was wearing this backless, crimson-red gown that dipped low, dangerously low. It framed the fresh tattoo perfectly. The black ink popped against her skin and the red fabric. She looked like $1,000,000, or, more accurately, like a cheap whore wrapped in expensive silk. Zip me up, she commanded, turning her back to me. I pulled the zipper up, my fingers brushing against the angry, healing skin of the tattoo. It looks bold, Ash. Everyone is going to be looking at you tonight. I know, she smirked, adjusting her boobs in the mirror. Try not to embarrass me, okay? Just stand there, hold my purse if I need you to, and don't talk shop with the executives. They don't care about tattoos. Yes, ma'am, I said. We drove to the venue in silence. She spent the entire ride texting. I saw the name Brad flash on her screen at least 5 times. She was probably coordinating a meetup in the coat check room. The gala was at a high-end hotel ballroom. Chandeliers, champagne towers, the works. As soon as we walked in, Ashley dropped my arm. I need to go say hi to the partners, she said, dismissing me. Go get a drink or something. She strutted into the crowd, turning her back to the room every chance she got. She wanted people to see the ink, and they did. I stayed by the bar, nursing a whiskey, watching the ripples spread through the room. At first, it was just confused glances. People would look at her back, squint, whisper to their neighbor, and then look at me with pity or shock. Ashley, being the narcissist she is, interpreted these stares as admiration. She flipped her hair, laughing loudly at jokes that weren't funny, soaking up the attention. Then, the main event happened. Ashley made a beeline from Mr. Liu. Mr. Liu was the CEO of the massive tech firm her agency had just signed. He was the guest of honor. He was an older, very traditional Chinese man. He was standing with his wife and a few other executives. I watched in slow motion as Ashley approached them.
She turned to grab a glass of champagne from a passing waiter, deliberately flashing her back to Mr. Liu to show off her cultural appreciation. "Mr. Liu," she chirped, spinning around to face him, "so good to see you." The blood drained from Mr. Liu's face. He dropped his cane. It clattered loudly on the marble floor, silencing the immediate area. His wife gasped, covering her mouth with a manicured hand, her eyes wide with horror. "Ashley," Mr. Liu said, his voice trembling with a mix of rage and disbelief, "what is on your back?" Ashley beamed. "Oh, you noticed. It's fresh. My husband did it. It means eternal love and devotion. I got it to honor the commitment we all put into this new partnership." The silence that followed was deafening. You could hear a pin drop. Mr. Liu straightened up, his face turning a shade of purple I'd never seen before. "Love and devotion?" he spat out. "Is this a joke? Is this some kind of sick American humor?" Ashley's smile faltered. "Excuse me?" "That does not say love," Mr. Liu shouted, his voice echoing through the ballroom. "It says cheap prostitute. You have cheap whore written down your spine." The glass of champagne slipped from Ashley's hand and shattered on the floor. The entire room gasped. Brad, who I spotted lurking near the buffet, froze with a shrimp cocktail halfway to his mouth. "No," Ashley stammered, her face going pale. "No, that's my husband said." She spun around, scanning the room frantically until her eyes locked on mine. I raised my whiskey glass in a silent toast and took a slow, deliberate sip. The game was over. The seconds after the glass shattered felt like hours. Mr. Liu looked at Ashley like she was a pile of dog crap on his shoe, then turned to her boss, a guy named Greg who looked like he was about to have a stroke. "I will not do business with a company that employs disrespectful women," Mr. Liu announced, loud enough for the back row to hear. He grabbed his wife's hand and stormed out. Greg turned to Ashley, his face purple. "Get out," he hissed. "Get out right now. Don't come in on Monday. We'll mail you your things." Ashley stood there, mouth gaping, tears black with mascara starting to stream down her face. She looked around for support, maybe for Brad, but the coward was nowhere to be seen. He'd probably army-crawled out the service exit the second he heard cheap whore. I didn't wait for her. I turned on my heel and walked out the double doors, loosening my tie. I felt lighter than I had in 6 months. I was halfway to the car when I heard the clicking of heels sprinting on asphalt behind me. "You!" she shrieked. It was a sound that could shatter glass. "You psychopath!" She caught up to me at the car, grabbing my arm and spinning me around. Her face was a mess of snot and rage. The backless dress that was her pride and joy 10 minutes ago was now just a frame for her public execution. "How could you?" she screamed, hitting my chest with her fists. "You ruined my life! You ruined my career! I'm branded! It's permanent, you sick, twisted freak!" I caught her wrists easily and shoved her back. Not hard, just enough to create distance. "Stop touching me." "Why?" she wailed, hyperventilating. "Why would you do this to me? I loved you!" "Cut the shit, Ashley," I said. My voice was calm, scary calm. "I know about Brad." She froze. Her mouth hung open, but no sound came out. The tears stopped instantly. The grieving victim mask slipped, revealing the panic underneath. I don't know what you're talking about," she stammered, looking away. "Brad is just my trainer." "Stop," I said. "I saw the iPad. I saw the messages. He makes my skin crawl. Pathetic loser. I just want to think about your cock. Does that ring a bell?" Her face went white. She knew. She knew there was no spinning this. "And the receipt from the Gilded Fork," I continued, leaning in close. "Lobster and Pinot Noir on a Tuesday while I was eating leftovers? You played me for a fool, Ash. You treated me like garbage in my own house while you were screwing some gym rat and laughing about it." She stared at me, her eyes darting back and forth, searching for a lie that would work. When she realized there wasn't one, she switched tactics. She went on the offensive. "So what?" she spat, her face twisting into a snarl. "So you mutilate me? You're sick. Yeah, I fucked him. And you know why? Because you're boring. You're a boring, unambitious tattoo artist who comes home smelling like disinfectant. Brad is a real man. He makes me feel things you haven't made me feel in years." "Glad to hear it," I said,
unlocking the car door. "I hope he likes the tattoo. I made it just for him. A warning label." "You're going to jail," she screamed. "This is assault." "Actually," I said, opening the door, "I have a signed consent form. You signed it yesterday. Client agrees to the artist's design interpretation. You didn't read the fine print, did you? Too busy texting Brad."
I got in the driver's seat. She lunged for the passenger handle. "Where do you think you're going?" she shrieked. "Take me home." I locked the doors. "No can do. I'm going to stay at a hotel. The locks on the house will be changed by noon tomorrow. My lawyer will be in touch." "You can't leave me here," she screamed, banging on the window as I started the engine. "Everyone is staring. My dress doesn't have a back. I look like a whore." I rolled down the window just an inch. "Well," I said, looking her up and down. I drove off, leaving her standing alone in the parking lot under a flickering street lamp. Cheap whore, shining on her back for the valets to see. But the night wasn't over. My phone buzzed in a cup holder. It was a text from her number, but the preview showed a photo. I pulled over to check it. It wasn't from her. It was a screenshot she must have accidentally sent in her panic, or maybe she was trying to send it to Brad. It was a pregnancy test, positive, dated 3 days ago. My stomach dropped through the floor.
I sat on the shoulder of the highway, hazard lights blinking, staring at that picture of the positive pregnancy test until the screen burned into my retinas. My first emotion was nausea, absolute gut-wrenching sickness. But then a wave of cold, hard logic washed over me. I did the math. As I mentioned in part 1, our bedroom has been dead for 6 months. Not rarely, not once in a blue moon, 0, nada. The last time we were intimate was my birthday, half a year ago. Unless Ashley was carrying the second coming of Christ, that baby was 100% Brad from the gym spawn. She tried to trap me. That's why she sent the screenshot. It wasn't an accident. She realized I was leaving, realized her meal ticket was driving away, and she threw a Hail Mary. She thought if she dangled a baby, something we had talked about wanting years ago, I'd turn the car around. She thought I was stupid enough to forget the timeline of our sex life. I picked up the phone and typed 2 sentences. "We haven't had sex in 6 months. Hope Brad has good health insurance." I blocked her number before the message even marked as read. I didn't want to hear her lies. I didn't want to hear her try to convince me that maybe it happened when you were asleep or some other gaslighting garbage. I drove to a motel, checked in, and slept like a baby for the first time in weeks. The next morning, the war began. I met with my lawyer, let's call him Saul, because he's a criminal miracle worker, at 8 a.m. I looked like hell, but I felt focused. "She's blowing up my office phone," Saul said, pouring me a coffee. "She's claiming assault, battery, emotional distress, and defamation. She wants you arrested for the tattoo." "Here," I said, sliding a folder across the desk. Inside was the consent form she signed. I'd highlighted the paragraph in neon yellow. "I, the client, grant the artist full creative liberty regarding the aesthetic interpretation of the requested design concepts. I acknowledge that translations and artistic representations are subjective."
Saul read it and let out a bark of laughter. "You evil genius! She signed a waiver giving you creative liberty on the translation? It's thin, but with the adultery evidence, it's enough to muddy the waters until she drowns." "And there's this," I said, showing him the pregnancy text and the 0 sex timeline. "She's pregnant. It's not mine." Saul's eyes lit up. Jackpot. We file for divorce immediately on grounds of adultery. We demand a paternity test. The moment that test comes back negative, she gets nothing. No alimony, no house, nothing. The next few weeks were a spectacle. Ashley tried to control the narrative. She went on Facebook, since she couldn't show her face on Instagram anymore, and wrote long, rambling posts about how I was an abusive monster who marked her against her will. But the internet is a savage place. Someone from the gala, probably a disgruntled intern, leaked a video of Mr. Liu screaming cheap prostitute at her. It went viral locally. Then the screenshots of her texts to Brad leaked. I may or may not have accidentally airdropped them to a few people before I left the house. The public sympathy she was fishing for evaporated. She became a meme. The dragon lady with the tramp stamp. She lost her job, obviously. You can't represent a family-friendly marketing firm when you're walking around with a slur on your back and a viral video of you humiliating a billionaire client. And Brad, the real man who made her feel things? I found out from a mutual friend that the second Ashley told him she was pregnant and fired, Brad changed his number and moved to a different gym across town. He ghosted her so hard he practically dematerialized. He didn't want a baby. He wanted a side piece with a disposable income. Ashley was alone, pregnant, jobless, branded, and facing a divorce where the evidence was stacked so high it blocked out the sun. She tried to show up at my shop once, about 3 weeks after the gala. She was wearing a hoodie, hood up, crying. "Please," she sobbed at the front desk, not seeing me in the back. "I just need money for rent. He froze the accounts. I have nowhere to go." My receptionist, a tough-as-nails girl named Kat, who knew the whole story, didn't even blink. "We have a policy," Kat said, pointing to a sign on the wall. "No refunds, no walk-ins for liars." I watched on the security monitor as Ashley turned around and walked out, her shoulders slumped. I felt a pang of pity, the ghost of the love I used to have for her. But then I remembered the pathetic loser texts. I remembered the cheap whore tattoo she was so proud of until she knew what it meant. I turned the monitor off. I had a drawing to finish.
It's been 8 months since the gala. 8 months since I watched my life burn down and then built a fortress out of the ashes. The divorce was finalized last week. Here's the wrap-up you guys have been waiting for. The divorce. It was a slaughter. My lawyer, Saul, was ruthless. Because Ashley had no job, no money for a retainer, and a mountain of evidence against her proving infidelity, and, let's be real, fraud, she folded. She signed the papers. I kept the house, the car, and 100% of my business. She walked away with her clothes, her phone, and the debt she racked up on her personal credit cards trying to keep up appearances. The baby. The DNA test came back. 0% probability that I am the father. 99.9% probability for Brad.
I heard through the grapevine that Brad tried to deny it, but courts don't care about ghosting. He's now on the hook for 18 years of child support. Ashley moved back in with her parents 2 states over. From what I hear, it's not a happy household. She's a single mom in a small town where everyone knows her business because the internet never forgets. The tattoo. This is the part everyone asks about. Can she remove it? Technically, yes. But here's the thing about the back piece I did. I packed that black ink in deep. I used high-quality, heavy pigment ink meant to last a lifetime. To laser that off would take probably 12 to 15 sessions, costing thousands of dollars she doesn't have, and it would hurt about 10 times more than getting it. Last I heard, she's walking around with a patchy, faded gray mess on her back that looks like a bruise because she could only afford 2 sessions before running out of cash. She wears high-backed shirts even in the summer. It's a permanent scar of her own narcissism.
My life now. I'm not going to lie and say I'm perfectly fine. I'm in therapy. Trust issues are a bitch. I look at women differently now. I'm hyper-vigilant about phones and late nights. But I'm healing. My shop is busier than ever. Paradoxically, the scandal made me locally famous. People come in just to shake my hand. I don't love the attention, but I won't say no to the revenue. I've started dating again, very casually. No soulmates, no love of my life crap. Just coffee and honest conversations. What I learned, and advice for you poor souls in similar boats. Trust your gut. If you think something is off, it is. The gut feeling is your subconscious noticing patterns your conscious mind is ignoring. If she guards her phone like the nuclear codes, worry. If she comes home smelling like soap, worry.
Gather evidence. Don't confront them with a hunch. Confront them with a dossier. If I hadn't found that receipt or screenshotted those texts, she would have gaslit me until I was the one apologizing. Knowledge is power. Indifference is the goal. For a long time, I hated her. I wanted her to suffer. But lately, I wake up and I don't think about her at all. That's the real victory. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. She's just a stranger who used to know my coffee order. Don't mess with the artist. If you were going to cheat on someone, maybe don't ask them to permanently mark your body. Hubris is a hell of a drug, and it usually leads to a fatal overdose. I'm closing this chapter of my life. I'm painting over the nursery we never used and turning it into a home gym. I'm reclaiming my space. Thanks for listening, Reddit. It's been a wild ride.